It's DTS 119, and it's going to be a whole lot easier to get your light level a bit higher because 2.4.1 is live.
You're listening to Destiny the Show.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Destiny the Show, the Destiny news podcast to keep you, the Guardian, ahead of the curve in the world of Destiny. Joining me, as always, is my awesome co-host, Ditty. What's up, dude? What was your favorite thing in Destiny this week?
I'm just relaxing. Weather's getting a little bit cooler here. It's in the 70s and 80s now. Pulling out the hoodies. Did 2 raid runs this past week with a couple DTS listeners and DTS Discord members. So shout outs to them. I did my Hunter and my Warlock. Titan is raid ready, but I just didn't do a 3rd run this week. And a personal accomplishment in Destiny was I did both of the jump puzzles in the raid with the Warlock blink.
Oh, you're sadistic. Did you go for the chests?
Yeah, I did have to switch to glide for one like really high jump. But I did the rest of it with blink just because I hate glide. It is just the worst.
I'm going to be honest. In that raid, I think Night Stalker and Defender Titan are the absolute best. For Warlock, and I'm a Warlock main, I feel like that is the most useless raid for me. Like the self-res, whatever, it's like helpful in the beginning when you're learning the raid. But man, having a Weapons of Light bubble is so helpful, right? What was your opinion playing through it on the Hunter and the Warlock this week?
Warlock was definitely, I did feel less useful because during like damage phases for Axis, it's like, yeah, I can Viking Funeral those Axis for the extra damage from alternate sources. But it just doesn't last as long as, say, a Tether or a Weapons of Light bubble. And
yeah,
you know, when I was empowered, we found out that if you're empowered and you die, obviously empowerment switches to another Guardian. Even if you self-res, you don't gain that empowerment back. So it would mess up our coordination a little bit because I'd be like, oh, I'm empowered on the right. Then I would die and lose it, and then I'd self-res, and we wouldn't have anybody on the right. So it's like, what's happening? And then it would cause a wipe because of the timing. But yeah, Warlocks, man, not feeling as useful. With hard mode, with heroic mode coming out, I do feel that self-res is going to be a little bit more beneficial because, you know, there's not going to be revives, most likely. You know, that's pretty much the blanket norm across the heroic mode raids. No revives available. So, yeah, that's my opinion. Night Stalker all the way, man.
My favorite thing this week was Trials run with Cat and Sassy. Enjoyed Twilight Gap a whole lot more than the previous week on Floating Gardens, which, you know, Floating Gardens, if you look at it, man, this would be a fantastic map, but it just turned into, at least on our runs last week, all battles over the ring, just chaotic things in the center. And Twilight Gap, to, you know, not throw it under the bus, it also turns into just a boatload of fights happening in the party room. Ended up getting, I think, the Scout Rifle Adept from the Trials Lighthouse chest. And now I have enough for the cloak. I have the Hunter cloak that's getting the ornament later today. Ooh. Oh, it's so cool. And then the Warlock bond is a little snake. And so when you have the little snake below the Ophidian aspect gauntlets, you got an entire arm that's like just snaked out. And I'm not a big snake fan, but I don't know, with the ornament, it looks pretty stinking sweet. Now, Ditty, this week we have hard mode coming out. We have patch 2.4.1 releasing. The light cap is going up to 400. Yes, some people have already been approaching that end, but it's going to be easier for those players who perhaps are still in the 360s and they just need to get that bump into the 370s to enjoy Trials or the raid a little bit more. Why don't we hop into the news and break it down? So on this week at Bungie, we heard about update 2.4.1. This is going to be going live on Tuesday, October 18th. If you're listening to the show on launch day for this show, it's probably already out. It's going to be bumping the maximum light to 400. With this increase, many reward sources will also increase the maximum light. So Ditty, where are we going to see bumps into the rewards to gear our guys up faster?
Yeah, so the following are going to be bumped up to, that they're going to officially drop rewards up to 400 light. The following activities: Strike Hordes, Nightfall rewards, Exotic Engrams, Trials of Osiris items, Crucible items, and Iron Banner
Very good.
items. So those are going to be like the reward packages from completing those bounties or anything along those lines.
Mm-hmm. And then what's going to switch with like the 385 stuff? Are engrams finally going to decrypt a little bit higher than that 365?
Yeah, so the following activities are actually going to reward up to 385. Going to be the Archon's Forge, the Heroic Siva Strike playlist, and the Legendary Engrams. So finally. And then the following rewards will be up to 365. That's going to be your Rare Engrams and the regular Siva Strike playlist.
Gotcha. So it's going to be easier to get yourself geared up for the normal mode. And then if you're already, been playing the last few weeks, it should be not too long. If you're already not, heroic light level ready, start playing, man. Start playing the strike playlist again. I'm excited to see that legendary engrams will decrypt up to 385. I felt pretty disappointed when it's like, I'm getting these purples, and it's like, not really useful. And the only thing I had to look forward to is like faction packages. Yeah. Now, ghosts and artifacts, Ditty, talk about it.
So Bungie has realized that they are dropping a little bit less frequently than intended, so they've upped those as well. Both items will now drop up to 400 light. In the faction packages, the rate at which ghosts are rewarded has been increased, and I was fortunate enough to get a New Monarchy ghost from one of my faction packages this past week, so doesn't seem that bad to me. No, just kidding. I completely understand. And then the artifacts from Eris Morn faction packages will drop at an increased rate as well.
Yeah, so that would be from completing Court of Oryx. If you want to go out and farm some Eris Morn reputation for the packages, just go do the court. There's a lot of people actually still running it, hoping to get an artifact from her. And also, ghosts and artifacts were now dropped or added to the loot table for Archon's Forge completion rewards.
Ooh, nice.
So, more reason to go in there. Cool tip that Sassy taught me about the Archon's Forge. If you guys have ever gone there looking for a group of people to play with, oftentimes you're like disappointed. You walk in there, nobody's here. Okay, I'll walk back out, and you come back in, nobody's there. The trick is crouch walk in between the two loading zones. I'm serious. If you crouch walk and walk slowly, you give yourself more time for Destiny servers to try and find an instance that has other people in it. You'll see your success rate jump up, I promise you. Like, just crouch walk in between the two loading zones, take your time, and more often than not, I'm coming into groups of 4 or 5 blueberries who are doing Archon's Forge, which is fantastic. It can be really frustrating if you are struggling to find, you're like, I just want to grind this, I've got this offering, come on!
So while we just got a preview this past week of 2.4.1, the deployment actually begins at approximately 10 a.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, October 18th, which we will then get the full patch notes on Bungie.net. And then to ensure that world first hopefuls for the heroic mode have time to download the update, they're actually pushing back the launch time to 2 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday, October 18th. So instead of the normal 12 p.m. noon Pacific time, they're pushing it back a couple hours just so that people with slower internets can download that update and be ready for world's first heroic mode.
That is really appreciated. I'm glad that they're doing that. Just a small touch, right? I don't think this is going to be a big update by any stretch of the imagination. If it is, perhaps there's another raid boss hidden deep within the heroic mode.
Or preparing for a Festival of the Lost, maybe.
Oh, that's actually a really smart idea, Ditty. That could be the update that they're pushing out. And with these changes to the light level reward structure, it's probably going to be a patch, 100, 200 megabyte kind of a thing. So That's nice that they're delaying it. Everybody's got a chance to be on the same footing when it comes to heroic mode world first. Let's just talk about heroic mode for a second, Ditty. Generally in the past, they've just added a few new mechanics to each of the fights. Obviously, no revives. But I have an idea, okay? Axis being the final fight in the Wrath of the Machine, brain fart there for a second. The room above Axis is that gorgeous diagonal room that's all black, and when you step on the floor tiles, they light up. I've always felt like, and you and I have talked about this, there's a puzzle in there. I think. This is just complete speculation, obviously. Maybe they did it because it's cool and aesthetically, what an awesome idea. The floor lights up. But I just have this feeling there's more to this heroic mode than just more challenging fights. You know?
Yeah, I would probably agree, because I wouldn't put it past Bungie to hide yet another fantastic puzzle, maybe leading to a new quest for a new exotic, maybe. But that room is really cool. They highlighted it in the raid teaser trailer, and it just makes sense. You hit part of the floor and it lights up. Some type of code is going to have to be input there, maybe. I think that would be really cool.
I was pulling up a Grimoire card earlier today for the Dormant Siva Cluster 3.9, which I think is Axis. Talking here, I'm going to read it for a second. It says, "My thinking is clear now in ways it never was before. It is my mind that has changed, and yet it is not my mind, but another consciousness that is different from my own. I feel there is a choice to be made, and yet I have made no choice. The choice was made for me." So, interesting thing with Siva and with Axis. Axis is the only guy in the raid who doesn't take the extra fallen damage when you're using the weapons that deal that extra fallen damage, because he's completely ascended. He's full Siva. He is no longer fallen whatsoever. But it seems like when he says the choice was made for me, almost like he's being controlled. A lot of people think, okay, Axis is the dude behind all of the Siva. He's the guy controlling it. But I don't think so, man. Especially when you read that Grimoire card, it just feels like there's something bigger behind the scenes pulling the strings, and maybe it's connected to heroic mode. Maybe there's a new Grimoire card that's going to come out when we clear heroic mode that will explain some of this. But hey, I wouldn't put it past Bungie. That would be the greatest surprise ever, a fourth boss in heroic mode. It won't happen, but there's my tangential side story there.
Yeah,
Speaking of...
Actually, that just made me think of something that Bungie could put on the Bungie store. Axis Marionette, where you can have like a puppeteer controlling his spider legs. I'm just saying, that's an easy $40, $50 that you can
These
make.
are the ideas, Ditty. What are you doing in your current job, bro? You need to be pitching these ideas to the world.
I need to be marketing. That's what I need to do.
Absolutely. So some issues are getting resolved too with 2.4.1. Yeah.
Yes, just a couple. They have some known issues like exotic faction class item quests only progressing if a player has a Spectar piece equipped, which is slightly odd. But the one that I wanted to point out was that Siva Crisis Heroic Strikes currently do not progress the Take a Strike node within the Rise of Iron record book.
Which is annoying.
And that's something we noticed day one. Like, we were running Heroic Strikes, that playlist, over and over and over again, but we weren't getting progress on that node because it just said the regular Siva Crisis playlist. And that it's like, I wanted to progress the record book, but I wanted to gear up. So I'm going to ignore that regular playlist and do the heroics, because that's where, that higher light level stuff was dropping. So they're looking into that. They know it's an issue. So in the future, we can see that update. Finally, if you run Heroic Strikes, you'll be able to progress that record book node.
They are aware of the false waypoint above Shiro if you are on the Thorn Quest, a light in the dark. I'm so happy that I'm not alone, because Shiro has had an emblem above his head, dude, since like the first week. And I'm like, why? I've talked to you. I've done the bounties. Come on, man. It was like that new Monarchy ship that was bugged forever that had a waypoint in the tower, which it's like, it's not going to be fixed in 2.41, but they know it is an issue. They learned too, Ditty, what we feared last week. The Bungie bounty with chat did not go well. They're just not going to do it again, right?
Yeah, they say in the This Week at Bungie post, and I quote, "Never ask 11,000 people at the same time if they want to play a game. #bounty."
Yeah, I don't know. I was hoping there was a system. Maybe there was some sort of clipboard, right? Somebody jotting down the order of who to invite, but it just was It didn't work out as well as it should have. And then I think Derek Carroll ended up teasing the last exit Easter egg that nobody has found, at least at this point, right? And it turned into them having to say, look, it's just an Easter egg.
Yeah.
Guys, this is not another Outbreak Prime. Please stop sending me death threats.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's you want to be careful what you tease to the internet, because the internet will hunt it down and they will find you.
Well, that Easter egg is something that Raid Secrets gets to go ham on, you know?
Yep, exactly.
All right, so that's going to do it for this week at Bungie, unless you can think of anything else, Ditty, that we might have missed.
Nothing really stood out to me.
Achievement Hunters movie of the week was awesome. They used the reflection artifact and the swords and did some ridiculously cool things, dude. So that's worth checking out for sure.
Yep. You can play ping pong if you want.
The Wrath of the Machine world record speedrun from SC Slayerage was published to YouTube, 22 minutes and 44 seconds. Oh my gosh, dude. What?
It's pretty quick. Yeah, I think they had 4 Titans and 2 Hunters. It's impressive. You know, at one point when they're running through the server farm, where the Outbreak Prime thing opens up, they actually had the Hunters dip out because they can't run as fast as the Titans can skate, and there's a door there that only opens if the whole fire team is there. So they actually had 2 of their members leave the raid, and then once they got to a certain point, they're like, okay, join now. And then they started the Axis Part 1 fight, and they revived, and it's just those little types of optimization that makes world record speedruns just so awesome. If you haven't, very similar strategy was a world record Crota's End run. They have that raid under like 8 minutes, start to finish.
Insane.
And it's a similar type of joining in progress mode that delays enemy spawning. Optimization is something that I find super interesting and try and implement myself, as long as, it doesn't require a full team of coordination. Just personal optimizations. I really like to do that in the raid.
Yeah, and this will be broken. Give it time. Trust me. That's how speedruns are. Somebody breaks it, the next person pushes it. It's going to be further and further and further. Your original thought process of speedrun times, I think, was pretty correct. Like a month ago, you were saying, I think the raid's going to be done around 20 minutes. And looky here, 20 minutes, man.
The two runs that I did this past week, they were around an hour, and it was with a crew that I had never really played with before. And it's like, yeah, it's so fun too. It's not like, oh, we were done. That's super quick. No, it's actually really entertaining.
I have some buddies who've taken a break from Destiny, and I've been trying to push them back in with Rise of Iron. And every time we get a chance to talk about it, I'm like, guys, the raid is awesome. I mean, it is the best combination of fun yet challenging fights, and you don't have to give up an entire night to do it. If you're with players who understand the fight and are at least a decent enough light level, like you said, about an hour, which to me, perfect. Super happy with that. Speaking of the raid, dude, did you know that you can glitch into it, get all the chests and the Dormant Siva clusters without beating any bosses at all? This was a Reddit post from Esoteric this week.
That's ridiculous.
Oh so my goodness. So it's a sword fly, right? It's using bones of... Ow! And sword flying, clipping through the wall, getting on top of basically the giant entrance to Wrath of the Machine. And from that point forward, you can get all the stuff.
Yeah, you just run through the rest of it. And I believe you can use a Titan with Twilight Garrison as well. So Warlocks, kind of out of luck there. Sorry.
And we sort of oversimplified it, but it's a lot of jumping tricks, basically. A lot of jumping tricks to get past stuff that you shouldn't be able to get past.
Once you're on top of the thing, you kind of phase through the floor, you die, you respawn inside one of the first jump puzzles, and then you just run through the rest of the raid. Something like that.
Yeah. This is going to get patched, guys. This is probably going to be patched in 2.4.1. I doubt that by the time you're listening to this, it will still be around. This is something Bungie will fix in like a day. They have to. They'll just put a giant kill box like on top of the thing and be like, no, thanks, guys. We love your enthusiasm, but no.
Actually, that reminds me, the world record speedrun that we just mentioned actually utilizes the wall phase through glitch in the Siege Engine part. They actually utilize that to beat the Siege Engine. So
those types
works
of things,
for now. Yeah, it works for now. It's probably going to be patched, but they're probably still going to find another optimization route to shave that time off.
While I was on Reddit also looking at this video, I saw a very weird link of a team beating Axis who didn't teleport. They don't really know what they did. This is a post from Smithsmith. It'll be linked on our website, destinytheshow.com. And for whatever reason, Axis doesn't teleport. He's damageable. He does not do the wipe. You don't have to jump on the back pillars. Apparently, they threw a bomb underneath him, and they threw it when he was about to raise his arms and wipe the team. But whatever glitch happened, Axis was damageable. He didn't teleport. And this could be a new cheese. If somebody figures out how to consistently execute this, this could be a new Crota's End-like cheese,
Yeah, if they figure it out before heroic mode comes out, and somebody uses this for the heroic mode fight,
or a speed run even.
Yeah, or a speed run. This could significantly, compromise, I don't want to say the integrity of the raid, but this fight, when I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's what we did with Crota when we pulled the plug on one of the host's Xboxes, and Crota just kneeled and stayed there. Kind of reminds me of that. Obviously, it doesn't look like a networking issue. It looks like some type of glitch, like we said, that just allows you to complete the fight without doing any of the mechanics. Very obviously a glitch, very obviously a cheese. Fingers crossed for me that this does not become figured out consistently.
It'll be patched. It'll be like everything else. Okay, Baby Bumper Atheon a long time ago, he existed for a week, right? And then once it became well known, or maybe 2 weeks, right? They put it in place and they fixed it. So these cheeses, to me, I like them. I love being able to discover and see people break the game, essentially. And then it gets fixed. Because this won't exist and this won't last long. Because it, like you said, compromises the integrity of the last fight. Just doesn't make it all around something that people want to see. It was shown in 3 different videos with 3 separate fire teams. Okay, this isn't a singular occurrence. So there is some sort of pattern. People just have yet to figure that pattern out. So that's it for the news, man. I don't believe anything else big is coming up this week, although Festival of the Lost is looking like October 25th. So be ready to get a new mask. Bust out that old candy. It's probably spoiled by now.
It's rotten. Yep.
It's definitely rotten. Speaking of Halloween, dude, this is my time of year. I buy a boatload of candy and then hoard it in my office. Anytime somebody comes back to see me like, you want a Kit Kat bar? That's right. No Reese's Pieces for you. Those are mine. It's mine.
Do you buy it before or after the holiday?
Well, I should buy it after, right? Because then it's super
it'll be
cheap.
On sale. Yep.
Yeah. But then you kind of lose out on the fun and the hype, right?
That's true, yeah.
I did trials, like I said, with Kat and Sassy. Played multiple teams who were wearing the jack-o'-lanterns. And it's just like,
awesome.
I love this. This is
that is super cool.
Please, Guardians, let me help you. If you come looking for wise words, I shall try, but I ask you to turn them to action.
Ditty, we are over 2 years into Destiny. And Destiny 2 is coming fall 2017. And believe it or not, it might sound crazy, but there is a story in Destiny. Did you know that?
There's something there? Oh, man, what have we been playing this past couple years then?
If I only had time to tell you, I wouldn't.
Oh, my goodness.
That's really it. No, really, I want to talk about the story. Here we are. We're looking at the final year of Destiny 1. Has the story improved? And where can it go from here to become better? I think unanimously, the thing that has been critiqued about Destiny more than anything else is story. Would you agree?
Yes. And to answer your question, I would say yes and no. No, the story hasn't necessarily improved, but the storytelling has improved drastically. My impression of Destiny's, lore is, I have not looked into the Grimoire cards. I haven't read them. Obviously, I know they're very good, but I just haven't sat down and read through every single one of them or watched the lore videos that are out there. I just haven't. So from my perspective, just playing the game, every single expansion of Destiny has basically, to me, had their own storyline. It hasn't really built on one another, Dark Below, House of Wolves, they were good, as well as, Vanilla Destiny kind of left some questions at the end. Dark Below had a very clear beginning and end, all the way up through the Rise of Iron campaigns. But I don't really see them connecting very well right now.
A continuous arc. You don't see that in between the mist. I would argue and say that Dark Below connected very well with the Taken King, just the references between Crota and Oryx. But
That's true.
I also, the Grimoire is pretty beautifully written, and there's some really deep and rich backstory to this universe. But unfortunately, the majority of that is stored outside of the game. Okay? Stored in Grimoire that you have to read outside of the game. Those lore videos by awesome YouTubers that help players put the pieces together are an integral role of trying to figure out what's going on in Destiny. But if you are just the average player, if you're somebody who plays this game day in and day out and doesn't seek that lore outside of the game, it's exactly the reaction you said. It feels like a bunch of different stories that don't connect. And that is a failure, I believe, on Bungie's part to some respect. And it's improved, but man, I still really don't know what's going on with almost anything.
Yeah. I would almost say, it's very similar to the Star Wars universe. You know, Star Wars has a main storyline. Obviously, it's very well done. I'm not saying Destiny is as good as Star Wars, whatever. Star Wars has a very big expanded universe. That's what I'm trying to get at. You know, they have a bunch of different story arcs that don't necessarily connect. They take place in the same universe, but they're not necessarily connected all the way. That's my impression.
Putting together the pieces, right? So Vanilla, huge dropped ball in regards to storytelling. Dark Below sort of improved it. House of Wolves, like, definitely improved it. I remember when you and I completed the House of Wolves story missions, we were like, that was good. This really played into Prison of Elders. We got a sense of Skolas and what Skolas was doing. And then the Taken King comes along and absolutely, for us, was like, yes, that's a big step in the right direction. And Rise of Iron, I think, is a nice, albeit small, beginning, middle, and end story. You get, here's what's happening, you're in the middle of it, and here's the conclusion of it, or somewhat the conclusion of it. And even though it's short, I think they did a pretty good job. But man, there's so much more going behind the scenes, like the Aphrodite cutscene from Iron Banner. Here you are, so excited for this reveal of Aphrodite. We've been waiting a long time, and then that cutscene is pretty short and shallow. And you're left going, no. This can't be it, right? There's got to be more. Like, what if, Ditty, each Iron Banner we get a new cutscene that helps explain a little bit more backstory?
That would be awesome. Oh man, yeah, you just blew my mind. That would be amazing. You know, Aphrodite, she just kind of showed up. It's like, hey, what's up? I'm back. That's it. That's all it was. And it's just like, oh my God, you were my favorite sniper in Vanilla Destiny. But it's like, I want to know more. What? You're just here giving me gear now. There's no backstory there. And man, you just got me so excited. A new cutscene every Iron Banner that just increased that knowledge of that universe. Oh, that would be amazing.
You could stand next to her, Ditty, for 10 minutes and hear the voice lines that she says, because that's how the NPCs in Rise of Iron communicate so much story. And most of the time, me as the player, I just walk away. You know how rude that is to somebody like Saladin? Saladin, who has just been grieving over this for forever, like the absolute hugeness of this whole thing, right? What's going on in Rise of Iron, and I just walk away from him. I want to see different storytelling methods where, what if I can just go up to Saladin, hold X, and talk to him, and have dialogue options, dude? Like, where is the level of interaction that's reminiscent of an RPG? Yes, Destiny at its core does the FPS side of things fantastically. I mean, how many other FPS games can say they have multiplayer on two different fronts? One on the scale of like a raid, and then one on the scale of PvP, all together living in the same universe with lore that connects the two. But where on earth is that RPG side of the equation? Because Destiny is more than just a shooter. Start acknowledging the RPG tropes that a lot of players want. In your game, because it's obviously got a well thought out, rich backstory. but how do you place it in game?
Yeah, and we should probably mention or reminisce about what made House of Wolves and the Taken King story arcs much better, much improved. And I think it was the fact that Skolas for the House of Wolves and Oryx for Taken King, they were in the story missions. You know, we invested into defeating this bad guy.
Yeah.
And then they were the end game boss to beat. And
Totally.
it just made it feel really complete. You know,
It did. And Axis comes out of nowhere. If you don't read the Grimoire cards, you're like, okay, he looks scary, but is this the dude who's controlling Siva? Which I don't actually think he is. I think that it's probably like Charlemagne on Mars or something like that. But
ooh, that's where we would Charlemagne versus Rasputin, Earth versus Mars. That's where we get that Cabal raid. Ooh. Both planets like become Death Stars and point all of their planetary weapons towards one another.
they just throw war sats at one another all day long. Guardians are running around the field just trying not to get squished. I've always hoped that would be a part of a raid somehow, where you're just running down a field instead of a Death Zamboni. It's a bunch of war sats just smashing the ground, man.
You pledge a faction, either Earth or Mars. Oof. But those types of things, you know, also with the rumor that Destiny 2 is becoming more RPG and MMO-like, it makes me think, what do the people of the Destiny universe who are not Guardians, not part of the Vanguard, just like regular old Joes, like we would be, just walking around the last city on Earth, do they know about Skolas? Do they know about the impending doom that we've been fighting?
Like, who are we
this whole
protecting?
time? Exactly. We don't, other than that, it's just like we're protecting Earth or the tower. I don't have any engagement or, you know, investment to protect the Traveler right now. I don't care. I have no idea what the Traveler really does and why he's still there. The Speaker. Let's bring the Speaker back because he was a really cool and mysterious character. People still think he's the bad guy controlling everything. Let's bring that guy back. Let's find out, you know, more lore in the game. They could take the Grimoire cards, you know, I don't want to say this word, but I'm going to outsource to an animation studio. Take that. You have the backbone for some really awesome cinematic shorts. Very similar
like
to
the Animatrix, right?
Yeah, exactly. Animatrix for the Matrix. Also, League of Legends, they have their own cutscenes. They have Overwatch cutscenes. Those types of things that expand on the Destiny universe. And it's already written in the Grimoire cards. It's already there. You know, it would make sense if it was in the game, but if they don't want to go down that path to add it into the game, animated shorts, oof, that would be awesome.
It's been hard to feel a real sense of fear, for me at least, because what does Destiny open up with? You've been dead, and you've been dead a long time, but I brought you back. And in-game, I'm sure through Grimoire it's explained better, but in-game, that's never really explored deeply inside the game from the character's perspective and from playing the game. Nobody ever really says how the cyclicality of death operates in this world. It reminds me a ton of Dark Souls, but I don't feel a real sense of threat from any source, okay? Siva seems, you know, scary. Oryx was scary. But if we can just die and come back, what's the real threat here? Who are we protecting? Most of this is probably slated for Destiny 2, Ditty. How much of it is, you know, coding complications and difficulties based on the engine? I would speculate a lot of it, because just playing other Bungie titles, they do flesh out stories, I feel like, pretty well. At least in Halo, I thought they did a fine job beginning, middle, and end explaining what it was, yet there was a rich backstory behind the scenes. So
Exactly. Yep.
So our report card of the story is it's improved but has a long way to go, right?
Yeah. I would give it a solid C+, maybe?
Siva Plus? You were about to say
there
it.
it is.
Yeah.
Siva
Okay.
Plus. That's my rating.
With the option to maybe become not a Fallen, because that would be terrible.
Oh my god.
But
That's,
it's not a Cabal either. It's just a Siva Plus.
you can't see it right now, but I'm doing a facepalm.
In that facepalm, is your Twitter name hidden in there and where people can find your content?
Yeah, of course. Twitter.com/Ditty, DTS, DITTY, DTS, and YouTube.com/Wooshness, WOOOSHNESS. Also planning some more regular streams as well. Not a once a year thing when a new expansion comes out. So stay tuned for that at twitch.tv/Destiny the Show.
In the next week or two, I will know for certain if I can start streaming. So, yeah, it's been a long time coming. But if it happens, I'll be super stoked. Head to our Discord, guys, if you want to find folks to play the raid with or get ready for hard mode or do any sort of PvP, or maybe just want to talk in general chat and poke us with silly questions. We like that too. Discord.me/Destiny the Show, now over 900 members strong. Thank you guys for being such an awesome community. Head to destinytheshow.com for all the links from today and more. You can follow us on Twitter at Destiny the Show. Check out our friends over at destinytracker.com. They offer the best stat tracking in the Destiny universe. The Bungie API has been down like the whole weekend, so some back-end stuff is happening. You can follow me at BBK Dragoon on Twitter and on YouTube. It's going to wrap up this week. Good luck in Heroic, guys. Tweet us your streams. We're excited to watch and cheer for you. Good luck to those running, and we'll catch you next week.